You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family, and their three great Niagara region locations in Niagara Falls, Fawn Hill, and Scott Street in St. Catharines. Thank you those that are tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel, and those that are listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Thank you to those who continue to support the show. Brandon Caputo and Christian Simmons are with you to break down the IceDogs' tough 6-5 shootout defeat at the hands of the Barrie Colts. We're going to get into all the game stats, the scoring summary, sort of what happened in this game with the IceDogs having a pretty hefty lead in this contest and Barrie being able to battle back. We're also going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch with his post-game comments, as well as forward and Tampa Bay Lightning second-round pick Ethan Czata after a big night for him individually as well. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast to update with all of our IceDogs coverage, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So, Christian, this one through two periods looked like we were going to come on here and have a pretty good talk about how the IceDogs were able to take down a team that they had lost to in the first round of the playoffs last year, a Central Division foe in the Barrie Colts. You knew the game wasn't going to be easy. We saw a lot of chippy stuff after every whistle, after the periods. There was a lot of stuff going on, and the IceDogs had a pretty big lead. And in the third period, the Barrie Colts showed why they're still a team that is to be reckoned with here in the Eastern Conference. Absolutely, still a team to be reckoned with. They showed it here tonight. To your points. They finally find themselves above 500, 3-2, 0-2 their record. Barrie, a team that's found themselves in overtime and in a shootout almost consistently so far this season, and they're pretty good at it. They showed up very strongly in the overtime, actually had a goal called back in overtime, but we'll get into that stuff. Just an entertaining afternoon of hockey here at the Meridian Centre. I thought both teams had strong displays at certain times, but for Niagara, just a tough way to go here on home ice following what was not exactly a successful week in their Sarnia-Windsor road trip. I think there's a lot of negatives more so than there were positives this week in the Niagara IceDogs stratosphere. A lot of learning lessons for sure, and I think Krys Barch kind of talked about that in his interview that we'll get to later in the show. But for me, just a tough way to go here on home ice. I think a great first and second period. I thought the start from the IceDogs was maybe a little flat. They're a little bit stung or bitten from whatever leech got them in the third period in Sarnia. They were literally stung by the Sarnia sting in that third period. They seemed to really just fall apart, and I think they carried some of that energy into the first period here this afternoon. Then they started to pick it up. The second period was a little stronger, and then the third, that bug came right back around the corner, and we really saw what can happen when the IceDogs team really goes off the rails. But one way or another, that is the score. That is the reality. The IceDogs fall to 1-2 on the week, and all we can do is move on. Yeah. The next week, that's all you can do. I guess go watch the Blue Jays. That's all. No, let's not. If you're listening to this on Monday, I feel for you if you're in the Yankees boat like I am. But it's hilarious. So we're on the way back up to record this podcast, and somebody's passing us in the events level as we're walking back up, and
this guy, he looks at Brandon and goes, Brandon, you want to know what the score is? And I told him, don't do it. Don't. We're going to record the post game. You're gonna ruin his. You're gonna ruin his mentality, his attitude.
I'm dialed.
Of course, sure enough, as of right now, who knows? Maybe Toronto scored another 3 runs. Seems like they're scoring at will.
Yeah, we're not going to do another score update because it's worse than what it was. So let's continue on here with the
Blue Jays.
Yeah, no more baseball talk is now banned for the rest of the year. Anyways,
This is my last podcast.
So yes, I'm going to need a new co-host after what Christian just said. So we'll get
Blue
things
Jays.
going with our game stats tonight, brought to you by J&L Flooring. If you think you get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know jack, contact them at jnlflooring.com or visit their Niagara Falls location and begin your quality flooring project today. Christian, the shots on net were deceiving because the IceDogs actually led in this category for most of the game. Through 2 periods, they were up 27-18, and then in the third period in overtime, it was a role reversal of 24-6 total, and in total for the whole game, 42-33 for the Barrie Colts. What did you see from the shots on net?
I don't know if it was entirely, confusing or misleading. You look at the first period, the shots were 13-10 for Niagara, not exactly a huge lead, and they did have a power play. They had opportunities in that first period, and they still barely outshot a team that was not overly strong in that first period. I didn't think Barrie had a strong start to this game. Then you look at the second period, 14-8 were the shots. Niagara, again, had a power play. They had a long power play. After that skirmish at the end of the first, there was all this uncertainty, who's getting penalties. Eliasson had the 5-minute match penalty, so Niagara goes to the power play for a quarter of the period and still managed to only outshoot the Barrie Colts by 6. And then, of course, the third period, here we go, right back to Sarnia and Windsor. I feel like it's the same story repeating itself. Outshot 19-4 in the third period. In overtime, the shots, again, similar, 6-2. They were outshot when it really mattered. That's, for me, what I keep coming back to. In Sarnia in the third period, it happened in a very similar way. They did not show up when they had to. They got outworked and dominated when they had to show up to win a hockey game. They still managed to get out of Sarnia with a win, but you can't do that against teams like Barrie. You can't do that against teams like Windsor. Not to say Sarnia isn't, a good team by any stretch, but Barrie and Windsor have some very talented players. You give Kayshawn Aitchison chances to score, he's going to do just that, and that's exactly what happened in this third period. Niagara gave Barrie every opportunity to get back into this game. They did just that, and the shots are not the whole story, but they're absolutely a big part of it.
I just checked the baseball score, and that was a really bad idea by me.
Why did you do that? 11-0 Blue Jays. Here we go again. You thought 10-1 was bad. You know what?
Anyways, I'm trying to dial back into this post-game show right now.
What inning is it? There's time.
Yeah, there's
time.
There's time, all right. Going back to what we were talking about, because I'm not even going to acknowledge baseball anymore. Outshot 74-32 in the 2 games up in Sarnia and Windsor, and that was obviously a point of emphasis because they came out and we talked about it sort of while we were up here through 2 periods. You were saying it's nice to be out shooting a team, and then obviously things,
of course,
things
jinxed ourselves.
Yeah, but it was just, again, like the third period, as you mentioned in Sarnia, was sort of a microcosm of what we saw today, right? Like just. And again, the Barrie Colts, I think, are a better team than the Sarnia Sting, so I don't want to take anything away from Barrie. Obviously, they've got some top-end players, and we'll get into all the scoring summary and everything like that. But if you're the IceDogs, you got to be ready for that type of push in the third period. And we talked about that as far as when they came out of the second intermission, what team we were going to see.
That's exactly what I said to you. I think I remember very clearly turning to my left and saying, Brandon, this game's not over.
Yeah.
There is no way this game is over. After the physicality that was displayed across the first 2 periods and what I was seeing from Barrie, I thought they had a lot more left in the tank. I was 100% positive that Kayshawn Aitchison stood up in that locker room in between the second and third and got those boys fired up. What happened in the Niagara IceDogs locker room? I guarantee you it didn't look anything like the Barrie Colts locker room because they came out at the start of that third period and were just not ready. They weren't ready. It's about being ready for the big moments. That's what makes great teams excellent. Great teams can become good or satisfactory or mediocre because they don't show up with the right mentality. Hockey's a blend of both, right? It's physical ability, it's skill sets, it's game planning, it's strategy. It's, yes, that's important. There's all these other factors, but at the end of the day, you have to be ready to implement the skill that you have. You have to be ready to implement the strategy that you have. None of that stuff matters if you're not ready to play your brand of hockey. And I think the IceDogs got a little bit ahead of themselves in that second intermission. They didn't come back ready.
Yeah, and I mean, you can say that, it was a 3-game week, but Barrie played last night. Niagara didn't. So
Barrie played 3 games this week, too.
You can't use those as excuses, and nobody in that room is going to say anything of that sort, but that's sort of, when you look at what the team's schedules were. Continuing on here quickly with the game stats, Christian, both teams 1 for 2 on the power play. Face-offs, 32-27 in favor of the Colts as well. Obviously, the power play is something that the IceDogs have wanted to work on. It was at 10% coming into this game. They did get one on the board at Ryan Robrick's goal later, and obviously Barrie also connected on one that was a big momentum shift, which we'll get into in the scoring summary. But what did you see on the power play? And then obviously giving up a shorthanded goal in a 5-minute as well, not too great.
Yeah, I didn't like that power play at the start of the second period, or was it the third period? Might be confused here. Let me just quickly double check.
Which one?
The power play at the start of the second. So there's actually a power play at the start of both the second and the third. That's why I'm confused. There you go. I knew I wasn't wrong. Anyways, that power play at the beginning of the second period was awful. You couldn't have asked the team to try worse to score. It didn't work. The line combinations, I think, are very much still in the air. We've seen it over the last week. The top 6 keeps changing. I think it's a chemistry thing for me. Mm-hmm. These guys don't know what each other's tendencies are because they haven't been given enough time to develop that understanding.
It's been a week for this
lineup. And not even because that lineup has changed. It's ever-changing. The top 6 in Windsor was totally different than it was in Sarnia. And then they kept the same top 6 tonight, actually. The top line was the same as it was in Sarnia. But it keeps changing. It keeps moving. And I think that 100% is going to contribute to the power play. I think Krys Barch touches on it as well. There's also a need to have a number 1 defenseman at the back really quarterbacking their power play. You look at what Kayshawn Aitchison does for the Barrie Colts, top unit on that man advantage. He 100% gives them confidence back there. They're more than willing to put 3 or 4 guys below the hash marks because they know they got Aitchison back there. He's 100% backing up what they're doing in front of him. And I think the IceDogs are maybe missing that guy. There's some characters in the mix. You got Frolov. You got Blake Barnes, who played his first game here tonight, had an opportunity to see him in the 3-on-3, see him on the power play, saw what he could do from a puck-moving perspective. But I think the power play is going to round out. It's going to come around. It's just going to be all about personnel. Let's get these guys comfortable with themselves and with each other and understand, who's going to be in what spots. Like last year, Ryan Robrick was at the point the whole time. Now you got a totally different unit. Ryerson Edgar has been lining up at the point sometimes, and you got Edgar and Czata, and then you got Edgar and Robrick, and then you got he and Patterson, and then sometimes all 3 of those guys come out together. So it's just, I think for me, the power play's not as big of a concern. Yeah, it sucks. You went 0 for 9 coming into tonight this week. Those are some goals that probably would have helped in Windsor, probably would have helped in Sarnia. But I think the power play is going to come. It's going to come with time. It's nice to get one here tonight, but for me, a power play is really not a point of concern after tonight. I think what's more important is how they're getting to those power plays. Like, it seems as if the power plays are being earned in ways that are, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, and we'll have to come back. But I like the way they're earning the power plays. Just for me, right off my head, before we kind of backtrack again, I think, Ethan Czata, for example, played a game tonight where he's willing to go into those difficult areas, and I think the IceDogs are doing a good job of gaining those power play opportunities. They're just not capitalizing on them, but I do like what I'm seeing in that regard, to have what was it, 11 power play opportunities across 3 games, means you're doing the right things. You're going out there and you're putting yourself in positions to be infracted upon. And I think the IceDogs are doing a good job of that as well. Sorry to kind of go off the rails a little bit there. But for me, the power play, not a huge issue. It really, for me, comes down to personnel.
And they had 5 forwards, and he said he might not try that again. But and again, we didn't really go over the lineup too much. Again, still without Brady Wasselin day-to-day right now. You know, it's been a couple of weeks for the forward. Did see him in good spirits after the game, wearing a nice suit. So he obviously wants to be back in the lineup. Andrew Wysick's day-to-day, a couple of bumps and bruises, and he would be probably the guy that would be the puck mover on the power play or in those 3-on-3 situations, most likely. Him still being out of the lineup. Liam Spencer was out of the lineup as well on the defensive side, and then a couple of those other guys were just scratches for DeWatcher, Cole Cooksey, healthy scratches.
Andrew Wysick too. Yep.
And they were sort of. They've been rotating the forwards in and out there. Monk's also stepped out tonight to give Hage another game. So they're still trying to work out the combinations there with the 14 forwards. So it's something that's ever changing there. We'll get forward with our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Not going to go over every single one of these goals, Christian, even though all 10 of them were pretty impactful. But let's start off here with Ethan Czata's first 2 goals on back-to-back shifts. He's able to spring free on the first one, go far side, and then on the second one, it was a really good play on the forced turnover by Kevin He behind the net. I think Sean Doherty got involved in this. I didn't exactly see, but he got the assist on the play as well, and Ethan Czata takes a quick snapshot to fire it past Hrebic. So Ethan Czata scores 2 goals in less than a minute to get the IceDogs a 2-0 lead. Yeah,
great work from that unit as a whole. I think prior to those goals, there was a lot happening on the ice. There was bodies flying, there's chirping, there's tweets, there's all of this stuff, right? The ice was really starting to tilt in Barrie's direction. And going back to Ethan Czata here, not just the fact that he scored that goal, but he did it directly after a play in which he was being chirped at. He got pretty much tossed down to the ice here in the defensive zone in the near side corner where we sit. So just in front of the 110 section in the corner of the Meridian Centre here. And he was almost entirely overwhelmed by a Barrie Colts defenseman who was all over him and in his face. And I like the response from Czata. It was almost like, yeah, you're going to chirp me, watch this. He goes out, he gets that goal. An incredible individual effort. He's able to put himself in the right spots. And for me, this is Ethan Czata's brilliance, is his positional play. He puts himself in those positions to be really successful. And on that break, it would have been easy for him to grab that puck at the blue line and take a direct approach in on Hrebic. Instead, he kind of veered off to the right a little bit. He opened up the low blocker, and then he placed it there with pinpoint precision. So for me, there's a couple things on that play. And then the follow-up goal. Inside a minute, you're absolutely right. Sean Doherty was most definitely involved in that one. He whipped an incredible pass from that far side hash mark at the drop of a hat. He didn't even think about it. That's the chemistry I'm talking about. And it comes on a line, mind you, with IceDogs that were here last year. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to see as we get deeper into the season. These guys start to get comfortable with another. They're going to start snapping passes around. But great work. Kevin He on the forecheck, forces the turnover. And with no hesitation, Sean Doherty right to the back door, and Ethan Czata taps that one home. So a couple of goals that came at the right time for Niagara. I felt like there was a little bit of a push from Barrie at the start of this game. So I think it's great for Ethan Czata personally to get 2 goals, great for the team to get a boost when they needed to. I think that first period, if those 2 goals don't get scored in the timely manner that they did, could have gone a totally different direction. Barrie was really starting to build momentum. So I think they were great goals in that moment.
And good to see Kevin He come back. He did get a little nicked up and was on the bench being attended to by David Pandolfi, the athletic therapist, but he was able to remain in the game and was a big impact on tonight's game as well as the captain. Barrie scores that shorthanded goal at the beginning of the second period on the Gabe Eliason 5-minute major that happened at the end of the first period. I mentioned a lot of scrums and a lot of stuff after the whistles, even after the periods, and not the way you want to start a period on a 5-minute power play. So the Colts get on the board there 2-1. I don't know if you have any quick thoughts on that goal.
The defense on the power play. That's my only thought. We talked about it a little bit briefly, so no need to go back down that rabbit hole. But what happened was our defenseman at the blue line was caught flat-footed, and all of a sudden, Barrie has a clear lane to the goal, and I think it was Schneed who buried that one.
He had a good game tonight.
He had a great game. He was impressive. He's fast, great speed, and I think he's the kind of guy, we saw him in the overtime as well. He's the kind of guy that just knows how to score. We saw him in the shootout. He didn't score, but we saw him in the shootout. He knows how to score on breakaways. He made a very, very nice move to the backhand, slipped 1-5 hole. But I think for me that was the only note on that goal was just understanding what position you're supposed to be in and at what time. And I think the defenseman on that play, there was a lapse of judgment, understanding how fast this guy's coming at me, how fast maybe I have to backtrack. And instead of backtracking, the opposite decision was made to stand at the blue line, and it totally killed any chance of holding the line on that play and potentially catching up to Schneed, who was barreling in basically unchecked, right? So I think that would be my only note. Besides that, it's an unfortunate bounce. I mean, the puck ends up there off a weird redirection off the glass, so there's not a whole lot you can do about it. But just, to head coach Chris Barch's point and to mine, and I guess, to the defensive core as a whole, still kind of figuring out who's going to play where. And I think that's where the power play quarterback really comes in handy. Somebody who's going to make the right decisions inside of a split second and make sure that we're not only giving ourselves chances to score on the power play, but we're not giving up shorthanded goals.
And William Schneed looked like another former Barrie Colt wearing number 11. Ethan Cardwell is now up at the San Jose Sharks. Same type of player, and he's wearing that number 11 with pride right now with the Barrie Colts after big shoes to fill for Ethan Cardwell playing 4 great seasons with the Barrie Colts. But we'll get forward with the IceDogs goals here. They go up 5-1 actually, Christian, because the unassisted goal by Riley Patterson, just picked up the loose puck, fired it over the glove of Ben Horebic, who they obviously targeted tonight as far as the high glove because they went there a few times. And then Kevin He with a beautiful play, picking up the puck in the neutral zone, carrying it down the left wing, finds Ethan Czata on the 2-on-1. He makes no mistake, buries it under the bar for the hat trick. And then, we'll start with those two goals to go up 4-1 at the end of the second period. And those were 2 big goals. Obviously, Czata with the hat trick, but a really good setup by Captain Kevin He as well, and Patterson getting them that 3rd goal.
For me, it's the resiliency. They give up that shorthanded goal, and then what? What are you going to do next? A lot of teams could fold in a situation like that. The IceDogs didn't. On that 4th goal, or I should say the 3rd goal for the Niagara IceDogs, it was Ryerson Edgar on the forecheck actually that created that opportunity. He made a nice little move in the corner, dumped the puck back down low. A lot of young guys can get caught shying away from contact. Edgar did the opposite. He actually moved in towards his defender, bounced the puck off the end wall, keeping that puck low and in the lower third of the Barrie Colts zone, where it eventually redirects out front. Riley Patterson makes a nice little move through his stick, and then he roofs it. Maybe a little bit of familiarity there for Riley Patterson. Knows what to expect from the Barrie Colts netminder, knows where to put that one. And, of course, it's upstairs where Mama hides the cookies as he finds the 3rd on the night for the Niagara IceDogs. And then the Ethan Czata goal, his 2nd of the night. And for Kevin He, his 3rd. That was the hat-trick goal for Ethan Czata. For Kevin He, I think that play really revolves around his speed. Mm-hmm. He was actually able to back off the defender to the point where he fell. The defenseman just wasn't ready for that kind of speed. He picked it up
in the neutral zone right at the red line.
He wasn't ready for the Mach 2 from the Winnipeg Jets prospect. He came flying down that far side and put so much pressure on that defender that he actually broke, could not stay on his edges anymore, creates the 2-on-1, and then dishes for Ethan Czata, who fires one, bar down for his hat-trick goal. So those 2 were nice individual shots from those players, but I think they were also created by the other players on the ice. Edgar with a nice play down low gives Patterson the opportunity to stay in the play, and then Kevin He, with his speed, opens up the 2-on-1 for Ethan Czata.
And then the IceDogs extend the lead early in the third period. Ryan Roberk with the power play goal, assisted by Ryerson Edgar and Blake Barnes. Just quick thoughts on this, Christian, because we've got to get to what happened after that. But again, it was nice to see Ryan Roberk get on the board. Again, a little bit of a slower start for his high expectations as far as putting puck in the net. But that was a good momentum booster for obviously a guy that's highly sought after in the NHL draft.
Yeah, it's great for Rubes. I think he needs to continue to do that, get himself on the board, get himself going too. I've talked about this quite a bit this year. It's nice to see him finally jumping forward, scoring one, and it was a beauty. A true Ryan Roberk snipe, top right on the power play, comes in, top of the circle, and just wires one. But for me, another nice play from Ryerson Edgar on this one. No hesitation. Similar to the Sean Doherty assist on Czata's goal, his second one, it was a quick pass from one side of the offensive zone to the other, getting that goalie moving side to side, and that gave Roberk the time needed to find that top right corner. So a nice play from the young 16-year-old here who seems to have it going on home ice. He had a great game tonight, had a great game in the season opener. And I liked what I saw from him on that play, giving Roberk the opportunity to snipe that one. And, of course, for Ryan Roberk, a nice way to kind of get back on the board. And then downhill. Downhill from here is really the way that this game trended. You take a look. 4 unanswered from Barrie. It couldn't have been a worse third period. I don't know how something like that happens because it almost looked at the end of that second period like Niagara had figured it out.
And then they scored to make it 5-1 at the beginning of the third.
Right, and they started playing a trap-style defensive, neutral zone collapse strategy, which we saw in the second period. We saw it again in the third, but it just wasn't as effective. In that second period, down the stretch, Barrie just really couldn't get through the neutral zone. There were no clean break-ins. There was none of that. And it was because of the Niagara IceDogs neutral zone trap. And then in the third, it all comes crashing down. Barrie answers right back. That Ryan Roberk goal was not enjoyed for very long. I think they actually scored while Rod Mahood was still announcing it in the arena, which never a good sign. You don't want to give up a goal while they're announcing your own. And then Barrie goes to the power play. And that was the shift for me in the third period.
Yep.
Barrie was given that power play. Maybe a questionable call. We were definitely not too happy about it up here.
After they made it 5-2.
Exactly. They already made it 5-2. Then they go to the power play. And then 3 more come. Kayshawn Aitchison does it twice. And then they tie it with, 2 minutes to go. What was it, a minute and a half?
At the 16:32 mark.
There you go, 16:32. So 3.5. 3.5 minutes to go, and they tie this one up. So you got to give Barrie credit. They showed up in the last 10 minutes. Niagara was winning this game by 4 goals with 10 minutes left in the third period. Barrie didn't quit. Got to give them a lot of credit for that. That's resiliency.
Yeah.
They did a great job, and I think going in overtime, there was even more push from Barrie. It was tough. The momentum shifted. You could see it. You could feel it in the building. And the IceDogs really started to crumble. I think that was the downfall, was that power play. They gave up the goal right after the power play goal. I think it was almost like, falling from the penthouse.
Right.
Instead of falling from the third floor. They weren't down by 2. Sorry, they weren't up by 2. They were up by 4, and all of a sudden, just those quick goals, they were daggers.
And I gotta say, I don't like to come on here and rip officiating or anything like that, but Cole Baudouin took 4 whacks at Vladislav Yermolenko, and somehow after the whistle, and then the Barrie Colts ended up with a power play. So I don't know what they came to the decision on that, but to me it looked like, and Cole Baudouin didn't even get a penalty on the play. It was somebody else in the box for them, but it was a questionable sort of sequence there. But again, no excuse for the IceDogs to let that unravel to it ended up being a tie game. And of course, Alex Asadorian, shout out to him. We saw him pregame, was in good spirits in his return to Niagara. Obviously spent three seasons here, and AA was always a nice guy to content with, and a good player for the IceDogs as a veteran. But didn't want him to have a great game in his return to Niagara tonight, but he did redirect the game-tying goal for the Barrie Colts, and there was a lot of jawing back and forth between him and his former teammates, so that's always going to happen. You saw Patterson and Tiller as well. There was so much going on in this game, as we mentioned coming in, that the storylines were not few and far between in this one. In overtime, Barrie thought they got the winner. It was called back on an offside, so the Barrie Colts had to get back onto their bench. Anything of note you want to mention from the overtime before we get to the shootout?
I think for the overtime, for me, it's just Barrie's ability to find the high-danger scoring chances. And Niagara just really didn't do that in the overtime period.
They had one rush with Robrick, and that was
one rush, and it was slow. There's not a lot of high speed. And Barrie does a great job of, they regroup well. And you saw it in the overtime a couple of times, or whether it was Aitchison or Beaudoin.
Beaudoin was on the ice the entire overtime.
Right, and so was Aitchison. Gardner was out there quite a bit too. And what they do such a great job of keeping the puck. I think Niagara at times, and granted, personnel out there inexperienced. There was a couple of guys that made appearances in overtime that maybe haven't done it yet. So there could have been some nerves involved. But I saw the IceDogs very clearly give the puck away in overtime multiple times. Could have been 2 or 3. Some of them were even in their own zone, which is
cycling it around.
Exactly. Uncalled for. Those are the unwritten rules of overtime. It's the one thing you don't do. You don't give the puck away because
3-on-3.
3-on-3. Puck control is everything. It is the end-all, be-all. It's what gives the Barrie Colts the opportunity to score in overtime. I mean, we got lucky with the offside, but I think Vladislav Yermolenko made some big saves in overtime. I think Barrie could have scored on 3 other totally separate occasions. I didn't like the overtime period at all from the IceDogs. There was no danger, really no chances. Hrebic faced 2 shots.
Frolov had a couple big defensive plays that the game might have been over.
He did, but I don't know. I think this IceDogs team really has to look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, what kind of hockey do we want to play down the stretch? When it really matters in the third period, in overtime, what are we going to bring? What level are we going to bring?
Right.
Because Barrie knew exactly what level they were going to bring. That was a clutch performance. They did everything and more to win this hockey game in the last 10 minutes. In the overtime period, they did it. In the shootout, of course, they clutched up. They did it. Niagara didn't.
The IceDogs will have to learn from this one, again, from the team that they're still trying to knock off the pedestal of the Central Division. Good measuring stick game for them, even though they probably could have had this one in the bag multiple times. We got to the shootout. Niagara's 3 shooters weren't successful. Neither were the first 2 Barrie shooters, but then Brad Gardner with the game on his stick is able to bury it for the winner. Before we hit the break, anything from the shootout?
Similar as the overtime. I mean, my takeaways are pretty much the same. Ethan Czata comes in, and
he tried to go 5-hole. I saw what he was doing. I saw that there was an opening there.
Maybe a little bit of an opening, but I think for me, and then maybe not a bad shot from Czata. I think for me, it's just the overall feeling. I don't want to rip him or anybody else. Patterson comes in and shoots one into the corner.
He had the corner. He had it.
Yeah, the corner was wide open. I think he was trying to put it through the Zamboni door. I don't know. I mean, I think, again, I don't like what I see in those moments. You could have come down with speed, right? You could have come down with speed.
They were 4 for 4 in Saginaw.
And whatever.
So let's not.
But they were also drinking the water in Michigan that allowed them to have the 2-game sweep. So, let me get back on the positive train here. I don't want to be a little too negative, but it's just the way the game finished for me. And of course, not scoring in a shootout is unfortunate. I do think they had 3 solid moves. They just didn't capitalize. Right. And I think it's similar to the power play situation. They're not capitalizing on the power play. They're not taking advantage of those opportunities that they have. And I think for me, that's the big one is being an opportunistic team and realizing that, you have to rise to the occasion. And that's what playoff hockey is about. When you go back to last season, this Barrie Colts team, they found a way to win in the first round of the Eastern Conference Finals. They showed it again here tonight. They have players on their teams that are gamers. They know how to win hockey games, and they did exactly that here this afternoon.
Colts take it 6-5 in the shootout in what was a tipsy-turvy game for the Niagara IceDogs, and one, obviously they gain a point, but they'll definitely want that second point the way that this one ended. So we're going to be right back on today's show with more post-game comments from head coach Krys Barch and Ethan Czata following his hat trick. So stay right here. Be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all three of their great Niagara region locations. Right back after this.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Since 1999, Niagara Dental Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Patel and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Dental Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentalclinic.com. Niagara Dental Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberk.
This is Ethan Czata.
This is Brady Waslin.
This is Ivan Galyanov.
This is Kevin He.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast, IceDogs game recap, right here on the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs and the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you those that are tuned in live on our YouTube channel and those that are listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. The Dog Pound Podcast is proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. There are 3 great Niagara region locations. Before we get going, the day after every IceDogs home victory, you can go to any of the 3 Niagara region locations of Global Pet Foods and receive a free dog treat. We thought we had one today. Unfortunately, the Barrie Colts got the better of the IceDogs today, but you can redeem that the day after every single IceDogs home victory, and we will let you guys know on social media as well. You can send us an email at the Dog Pound Podcast OHL at gmail.com to get entered into our $25 giveaway that we're going to be doing every single month here for each of the 3 global pet food stores in the Niagara region. So stay tuned for that as well, and it'll be in the description below of this video to send an email there, and we'll pick one random person at the end of the month. So with that said, Brandon Caputo and Christian Simmons are back with you. Christian, before we get to IceDogs head coach Krys Barch's post-game comments, doesn't get any easier for the IceDogs because they've got the high-powered Brantford Bulldogs coming into town next Thursday, and then they've also welcomed back the Sudbury Wolves, who they defeated in the home opener. So they get a little lighter of a week next week, 2 home games, so they'll be looking forward to that as well. But again, it doesn't get any easier as far as the strength of opponents. You played Windsor and Barrie this week, and then you'll get Brantford next. So the IceDogs got to get things figured out here quickly because they've obviously not played up to their full potential through the first 7 games, but they're still sitting decently in the middle of the Eastern Conference.
For sure, and I think these next 5 games are really important. They have 5 of 6 of their next games all here at home, which is kind of the luxury of going on that road trip for the past 2 weekends. They played a ton of games on the road to start this season. This is only their 2nd game at the Meridian Centre in like 5 weeks, which is kind of hard to believe, a little bit heartbreaking for myself. I shed a tear every time we leave this building. And when we left against Sudbury, I definitely had a few tears to shed. But it's nice to be back here. And for Niagara, they got to take advantage of it. They have to take stock of these games. They got Sudbury at home. They got Brantford at home. Then they got a home-and-home with Erie the following weekend. Those are games that are must-win. And then Brampton and Kingston in the following weekend, both games at home. So I think those are important weekends for the Niagara IceDogs to really get the ball rolling and cement themselves at the top of the Central Division and at the top of the Eastern Conference. So we'll see how things go there. I think always important when you play a team like Sudbury, and would have been nice to get the win tonight against the Central Division opponent, but it's going to be nice to see the Dogs a little closer to home over the next couple of weeks.
Let's get the IceDogs head coach Krys Barch with his post-game comments, as always, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's what the IceDogs head coach had to say following his team, unfortunately, falling to the Barrie Colts in a 6-5 shootout.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Listen, obviously that's not what you want to happen in the 3rd period. What did you see from behind the bench? What was going on?
Well, up to the 3rd period, there was a lot of positives.
Oh, absolutely.
Come 3rd period, they started putting pucks deep. They started pressuring our D. We've got to get exits. We didn't get exits. Prolonged time in D zone, right. And pucks are going in your net. It's a simple thing. You get a puck in, you get a puck out, and we've just got to do a better job of getting pucks out. And you know what? There are young learning mistakes there. There are elements of that they will learn through, but your D-men and as a group, you've got to push pucks out of your own zone.
Right.
And they worked harder than us to keep them in. And it just comes down to that. It comes down to what you want to put forth and what you want to invest, and you have a return. They wanted to push harder than us in the 3rd.
Sure. And how do you handle this as a coach when something like that happens?
It's life. This is life. Life's not. Hey, life every day is not easy. Life every day is not success. The feeling of a win is here, but you have to earn that next feeling. Right. So again, we sit here, we learn, we go back to the drawing board, we go through video, we continually develop them as individuals, and we make changes. No different than life. So yeah. Same thing.
You mentioned the first 2 periods. There was a lot of positives. What did you like out of the first 40
just
minutes?
Work, the want to play for each other, the consistency of details, even small things of change rules. Keeping yourself accountable to changes and the right changes in terms of coming off and on the ice. We were true to our systems, and then come the 3rd, you have to meet that push from the other side, and it's going to be a learning process. So and we will support them and work through it with them and us as a group. Tomorrow's another day. And you just keep on pushing. So.
And it's interesting to see how a team will react to something like this, right? Because right, because it's going to happen in the course of the season, right?
Well, you're no different than anything. You have to react. You have to make the right choices, and nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody feels sorry for you. So you you worry about what you can control, and what we can control is, from now moving forward, and the choices that we make as individuals and as a team. So,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Did you sense a little bit extra with the players going against their old teams today on both ends? A couple things after the whistle, even after the periods, there seemed like a lot of extracurricular stuff. What do you tell the guys on the bench when it seems to be, high emotion like that?
Well, I think there's emotion in every game. It's a physical sport, it's a contact sport, so there's going to be elements of, emotion or motion in everything they do. So, I expected what we saw today. It's, again, you want to get those wins for those other individuals, especially playing against old teams. And tonight did not happen, so we'll have another opportunity at some point here shortly. So.
Power play still a work in progress. What are you seeing? Yeah. What are you seeing from there, and what do you think needs to be the biggest improvement as you go forward?
Well, I think for sure you need a D on the back end of it rather than 5 forwards. So that's first and foremost. And then, I would say Edgar and Ruby connected on a nice power play goal in the third, and it's just, again, maneuvering, finding things that work, and hey, it's like a puzzle. You're trying to find pieces. We've got a lot of pieces and a lot of individuals that can impact on that power play, so it's going to be an earned aspect for everyone.
When you've had to do some line shifting with other guys out of the lineup and expecting other guys to step in when they have the opportunity, how are you feeling like from some of those other guys and this team are they starting to gel a little bit? Because again, they've only played 6 full games together, this whole group, and even less for the guys that are back from NHL camp. So how do you think the whole cohesiveness is going as far as you go forward with the season?
I am happy if I look overall, big picture. They're a close group. They play for each other, willing to block shots, do what's needed. So for that, I've got no complaint at all.
And then lastly, with Yermolenko, obviously, the ending wasn't what he wanted, but how did you think he performed out there tonight? And obviously was hemmed in a lot in the third and overtime.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, he battled. We've got to be better in front of him in regards to his ability to make saves and minimize shots on net. So it's one of those things where you go back to the drawing board, look at what we can do in front of him, and then continue working with him on his performance, on his development. Ryan Ludzik's done a great job with all our goaltenders, so that'll be a focus here and getting them prepared for Brantford.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
There was IceDogs head coach Krys Barch on the postgame. Christian, what were your thoughts of what he had to say?
I think a lot of the things that he has to say are very relevant and very similar to some of the things that I would have to say if I was the bench boss of this team. It's let's figure out the puzzle. He talks a little bit about the different pieces, and of course up front offensively, we've talked about it. There's so many different pieces. They got like 14 rostered forward. So really starting to understand where some of those pieces are going to fit is important. And then he talks a little bit about the compete. This is not, minor peewee hockey. This isn't, your aunt's, friendly game of mahjong. And so there's a level of compete here that has to be met. And I think for me, the third period was really where the IceDogs struggled. They didn't meet that pushback, and that's what Krys Barch talked about, is being ready for that pushback. It's coming, but can we actually meet it? And I think that's a good point that he makes, and something that he's going to have to work on with this group to really start to develop the ability to be ready for those situations. And then, of course, Vladislav Yermolenko. Thought he had a great game. I think, to Chris's point, the team in front of him didn't play as well as they could have, but I do think for sure just finding those pieces on the power play and starting to understand, how each other's plays. I think that's going to be really important for a team that's still young. And he talks about that as well, being a young team that's making young mistakes, it's going to happen, right?
And the power play with the 5 forwards.
Exactly. So I think for him, for General Manager Frank Ivola, for the players themselves, there's all these different variables that are slowly going to start to reach ahead as we approach mid-season. And hopefully once we get there, we can be talking about different things on the post-game show. But I think, it's all going to come with time.
Let's get to our IceDogs player interview tonight, and that is with IceDogs' second-round selection of the Tampa Bay Lightning after his hat-trick, Ethan Czata. And that is brought to you by the Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural-looking smiles in the Niagara region for over 25 years. Here's what the IceDogs' third-year forward had to say following tonight's game.
obviously not the way you want things to go. So as a veteran on the team, Ethan, how do you try to make sure that the young guys get over this and understand that it's a learning process and not take this with them the rest of the year type thing?
Honestly, I just kind of tell them it's a long season. A lot of things happen. You can't really predict what's going to happen each and every game. Things happen, and you kind of just learn from them and kind of just learn from the experience of next game, hopefully come out harder, finish the game harder.
Sure. From your point of view, you had such a nice lead after 2 periods. What was going on in the third period there?
Honestly, I think we just kind of just started playing like the old IceDogs. I think we kind of just weren't playing our game. We were trying to do it ourselves. Kind of wasn't playing as really as a team. The first 2 periods, I think we were in scrums together. We were forechecking hard, getting the puck in deep, and I think after that, I think kind of just leaned away from that, and that's what cost us.
Sure, yeah. It's always nice to score a hat trick. Obviously, you'd rather do it in a win. The goal scored, the goals are going in for you. Do you feel a little bit more confident as far as just putting the puck in the net?
Yeah, I feel more confident, yeah. Summer was good. Had a good, just getting drafted and all that going experience kind of just helps with the confidence. So coming here and kind of bringing that to help our team try to win games is my goal this year. So
great.
Do you think you came back from Tampa with a little bit more juice, a little bit more, I guess, excitement and energy, confidence as well, to know that you can make these plays that you've always talked about, that you are confident in yourself in making?
Yeah, obviously, it's an achievement to get drafted, and to kind of just bring everything you learn from all the development camps and the main camps and kind of just bring it back here and kind of on the ice against in junior, kind of last couple of years in junior, kind of use those to kind of make myself a better player each and every game. So, yeah.
As far as the adversity, like you mentioned, you've been through a lot with this team over the last 2 years, and nothing really seems to faze you because you've been through some tough times here to be able to come out on the other side. So what do you tell some of those guys in the room that haven't been here for these experiences that, these are some of the things you'll have to go through in a long season?
That, honestly, if we just do it together, stay as a team, you don't kind of just always stay as a team and be a family, I think we can get through anything. So, honestly, last couple of years, that's something we lacked, kind of just being a family. So I think if we just stick together and through ups and downs like this, we'll have our downs, we'll have our ups, but at the end of the day, if we just stick together, we'll be a better team. Lastly,
what was it like playing against that team? Obviously, some unfinished business from last season, them knocking you out of the playoffs, and Alex Asadorian being on that side as well. Did you notice a little bit more extracurricular stuff out there with Patterson and Tiller now on your side as well? Yeah, it's going to be a chippy game against them every time. We play them 8 times this year, so, every game is going to be a battle, and it's fun hockey. So, thanks, Ethan. Thank you. There was IceDogs forward, Tampa Bay Lightning, second-round signee Ethan Czata on the Niagara Dental Clinic player postgame. Christian, pretty honest thoughts there from Ethan Czata. He's not necessarily the biggest talker in the world, but what he did say was pretty impactful. He said, they might have sort of went back to the old IceDogs of the last few years where they give up a lot of goals and they play a little bit too individualistic and get away from the system that Krys Barch talks about of good defense creating good offense, which they did through the first 2 periods, and then things sort of fell apart. But your quick takeaways from what the third-year forward had to say.
Yeah, just talking about family and playing for each other. And I think it also, in some ways, in some respects, ties into what Krys Barch had to say as well. When this group is playing for each other, when they're playing for their goaltender, they find ways to be successful. In that third period, they struggled in that area. They did not play for their goaltender. They had a 4-goal lead, and they let it slip away because they were more interested in maybe, finding an extra goal. Maybe for Czata, looking for the 4th, looking for Robrick, trying to get back on the board. And Czata talked a little bit about that. And instead of being individuals, let's play for each other as a team and as a family here. And to your point, Brandon, that's something that Krys Barch has talked about from day one. That's the identity of this Niagara IceDogs team. And we kind of saw that DNA collapse for the first time here at home in that third period. And that's a good indicator as to what it looks like when it's going wrong. When a team is just, they're not playing for each other, they're not taking hits for each other, they're not blocking shots anymore, there's no, urgency to win those puck battles. And those are the things that I take away from Ethan Czata's words. I think it's a very mature statement from a third-year player coming back, looking to lead this group, and hopefully himself alongside Ryan Robrick, Kevin He, and Krys Barch, all of that professional experience, both behind the bench and in front of it. I think if they can find a way to play as a family and play for one another, I think that dinner table is going to be happy come Thanksgiving.
And you wouldn't know that he scored a hat trick tonight because the only thing that matters is getting the 2 points, and obviously they just didn't do enough to earn those 2 points. But again, as you mentioned, really mature post-game from Ethan Czata, come a long way from his first 2 seasons doing those post-game interviews. So hats off to him after a great game. And that sort of leads into our stick tap of the game, brought to you by Butt Ends Hockey Stick Grips, specifically for the top end of the stick, designed to replace traditional cloth tape. Check them out at Butt Ends, that's with a Z, and use our referral code discount/Armchair GM to get 10% off your first order. Engineered for greatness, Butt Ends, the #1 grip in hockey. Christian, I don't think it's much debate on who your stick tap's going to tonight.
Yeah, well, Ethan Czata's stick definitely has a butt end on it, I'll tell you that, because he light the lamp with consistency here tonight. Of course, the hat trick. Pretty hard to pick somebody else for the stick taps. And we talked a little bit about his goals, but for me, some notable mentions. Well, take a trip down the rest of the roster. Kevin He, for me, got his 5th points in 2 games here tonight, had 3 assists, assisted on all 3 of Ethan Czata's goals. An impressive performance from the Niagara IceDogs captain. I thought Riley Patterson had a great game as well, gets on the score sheet against his old team. A nice little boost for him, a nice little boost for the Niagara IceDogs. And then some players that you maybe won't see on the box score. I thought Grayson Tiller and Wraith Smith both rose to the occasion. Grayson Tiller, of course, also playing against his old team means a ton for him to be involved. And early in that first period, you could hear it from up here. He was getting chirped from the bench, and I thought his response to that was fantastic, very mature. He set the standard for the rest of the team. This is how we're going to play against a big, mean, Broad Street bully type Barrie Colts roster who can come and kind of bang you out of the building.
Big boys.
They're big boys, and I think Grayson Tiller did a great job to really stand up to that physical push, and then Wraith Smith, of course, fits right into the conversation like a glove. That guy's in the mix, and he was tonight. He was in the scrums. He wasn't shying away. He had words to share with pretty much everybody up and down that Barrie Colts lineup. It didn't matter who you are, drafted or not. He was in your face from the first puck drop here tonight, and I think I like that from them. So the 2 scrappy guys, Tiller, Wraith Smith, Patterson, he and Czata get on the score sheet, and then Yermolenko, of course, in between the pipes. I think the third period was not an indication of the skill that he brings to this team. I think the team in front of him failed him. They did not play like a family, to Ethan Czata's and Krys Barch's words in the postgame, so I think he had a fantastic night as well. Through the first 40 minutes, he was electric. He made saves when he had to, and he gave the Niagara IceDogs a chance to win.
They're going to need more performances like Wraith Smith gave tonight, not backing down, stood up for his teammate in Flint. I believe it was Ivan Gallianov took a tough hit and stood up for his teammates, and that's what you want to see, that family and that camaraderie as this team continues to learn each other on and off the ice, and I think those 2 last weekend road trips obviously help with that. But again, good start. They'll come away with the point, which is not the end of the world, but just the way that game ended and turned, that's a game that they want to be able to lock down, come away with the 2 points, and maybe they end up winning this game later in the year because of the learning experiences from this one. So any quick final thoughts here, Christian? Our next post-game show is going to be right back here next Sunday against the Sudbury Wolves. So for you guys wondering about that one, that'll be our next episode.
Yeah, looking forward to it. As always, fun to be here. Thank you for listening, everybody that did tune in. Be sure to join us here at the Meridian Centre if you can, and if you can't, of course, we got the recap every week for you on the post-game show here. Really quickly, though, I will give a shout-out today. I did see 4 fans down in the 110 section with the most gorgeous jerseys I had ever seen. We ran into them actually in the elevator on the way in with some gorgeous pink and white Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys, and I loved them. Told them I'd give them a shout-out, and they were making a ton of noise down in the 110 section, super fans. So thank you guys so much for the support that you bring, and I'm sure you're tuned in as well. Thank you so much for leaving a comment, like, subscribe, and hitting that bell so you don't miss a single episode. But that's it for me. The IceDogs fall in tough fashion, and unfortunately, it's part of the business. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Krys Barch said something very similar. So at this point, we move forward. We prepare for Brantford. We prepare for Sudbury and everybody else coming afterwards. The IceDogs will be ready come mid-season. I'm excited for what this team can do. I think they continue to show flashes. They continue to show how dangerous they can be. The goaltending continues to show flashes. Krys Barch, as a coach, continues to show the culture that this team has, and I'm just really excited for when they bring it all together.
they'll lick their wounds tonight. But again, the IceDogs still with the positive record on the season and taking that into 2 home games next week. So that's going to wrap it up for our Dog Pound podcast. Post-game recap right here, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Thank you to those that tuned in on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those who chose to listen to us the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. For Christian Simmons, my name is Brandon Caputo. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, the update with all of our giveaways and coverage as well. And until next time, that's been another episode, another game recap here on the Dog Pound Podcast. We'll talk to you guys again very soon.